Happy Wednesday! I hope you're having a fantastic week. In Malaysia, there's been a partial lift of our movement restriction order, which means that a lot of businesses and stores have been able to reopen, except for restaurants and hair salons and basically any business that has a lot of like contact and touch or have large clusters. So basically, in short, people are slowly starting to go back to work and being out of their house, although I have not stepped out of the house yet except to go to my mom's down the road. Yeah, so I just want to check in and see how you guys are doing first here. Today's topic is about love. And you know, I want to talk about this because I recently made a video about attachments and how much happier we can be if we know how to live without attachment. And I want to talk about love specifically because I recently read an excerpt from a book, and there's this girl chronicling how she used to feel in her relationship. She was engaged to the actor John Cena. I don't know if you guys know, and I can't remember her name. Let's see. She's an athlete, and her name is Nikki Bella. So I'm sure some of you know who Nikki Bella is. And she was actually engaged to John Cena for, I think, 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. And then they broke off the engagement. And what she shared in her new book, I thought was very, very interesting. And I do want to talk about how we can love someone without losing ourselves to the relationship, without losing ourselves to that love. And one of the other reasons I want to talk about this is because in one of my recent videos, I talk about communicating with men. And there are a few comments that I thought was very interesting. And it revolves around how can we not be taken advantage of? How can we like not be a pushover if, you know, when we're trying so hard to communicate, right? And someone here says that, you know, when I respond calmly, he thinks he can get away with so many things because you just won't get mad. And then someone here says that it sounds to me like we women have to always put ourselves in second place. If you're trying to always teach your partner how to communicate, it's not healthy at all. And I don't actually see it that way. I feel like knowing how to communicate with our partner, it's incredibly empowering. It doesn't actually mean that we're putting ourselves in second place. It doesn't mean that we are going to get pushed around. So I do want to talk about this. I think it's really important. And one of the other comments here says that women can turn out to be the scapegoats if she wants to keep the relationship. And so my question is, why would you want to even be in the relationship if you are the scapegoat? Like, why do you even want to keep a relationship if you already feel that you are the scapegoat, right? And it has a lot to do with loving someone with so much attachment that we don't even know how to exit, and we don't even know how to convey what we want and what we need in a relationship. And what happens is that if we don't know how to communicate what we want and what we need in a relationship, a lot of frustration and resentment will build up. So even though we want to keep the relationship, what happens is that we'll start to also have a lot of resentment towards our partner, and it'll manifest in other ways. And so we end up in a lose-lose situation where we want the relationship, but yet we feel trapped within that relationship, like we're not happy, but we don't know why, right? We're already trying so hard to please the other person. And so this is why today's topic, if you've just joined us, is about how do we love someone and be in a relationship without losing ourselves. Because we can be in a relationship and we can desperately want to keep that relationship, but we completely lose ourselves in the process. And what ends up happening is that we begin to feel deeply unhappy, but yet we cannot break up, like we cannot escape that relationship because we kind of feel like we need it too. Melissa here is asking, oh sorry, I'm just like, this latest comment, it's, my boyfriend loves to cane me, but I'm a bit uncomfortable as it hurts my butt real bad. What should I do? I think you can tell your boyfriend, you know, that there are certain things when it comes to the bedroom that you prefer and some things that you don't like, and you can explain to him why. It's not because you don't want to make him happy, and it's not because you don't enjoy doing certain things with him, but because it hurts you, right? And I think that if a person can understand that it's because it hurts your butt, I'm sure they will come up with alternative ways to make sure that, you know, the act of being intimate or sex can be more enjoyable, right? Rather than it hurting you. Yeah. So all the guys here are like laughing. You know, but it's a legit question, you know, like honestly. And sex is basically one of the things that we do need to learn how to communicate with our partner. Ray Misha here says, I always take advice. Very effective. I'm glad it's effective. Oh, you like my earrings. Thank you. This is from Love Bonito. All my clothes that I wear in my videos are from Love Bonito. If they're actually giving a 10% discount to my fans and followers. So if you want to purchase anything from Love Bonito, you can use my code. It's LBX Xandria 10% off. Let's see. Hi to everybody saying hi. West Day is tomorrow, on Thursday. My mom just reminded me. Hi, Mac from Cambodia, Ling, Beth, Fine. Hi, Peter. Hi, Ling. Hi, Doris. Thank you. Thank you. I felt so like, oh, you know, this little flower makes me so happy that I'm just gonna wear it today. Okay, so when it comes to Peter, he said use a feather duster instead. Yes. So when it comes to like accepting what our partner does or partner doesn't do, I think we ourselves have to ask, why do we want to be in the relationship? And I think that this is hugely important. And I want to say something here. I don't know if I should read what I feel is incredibly notable from the little excerpt from the book. Nikki Bella, who was dating John Cena, she wrote a book and she shared about what went wrong in her relationship, and she talked about how she was handling the relationship. And I just want to read like a few parts from here. The superstar explains that she was so focused on holding on to him, to her ex, so she tried to be perfect and tried to create a perfect life for him. By continually putting him first and choking my own voice back, I didn't give him the respect of actually hearing about how I was doing. I didn't give him or our relationship the benefit of the doubt that maybe it could handle more. Because I assumed he wasn't willing to make sacrifices, I did not persistently ask. Because I was so fixated on what I believed he wanted, I made many decisions on his behalf, even though I was losing myself in the process, right? And she also said that the reason she didn't know like how to bring things up is because it was paramount to me to like keep pleasing him and keeping him content, not voicing my own needs. He had no idea I wasn't getting what I needed because I never said anything. So she was very intent on keeping him happy because she fears that if she brings something up that he's gonna leave her, right? She says that she's attached to the very disturbing core belief that I am only lovable when I put other people first, that I only deserve the affection because I am useful and handy. He could see the real me and love me just the same. It felt too good to be true. I felt undeserving. So she was so focused on holding on to him. sorry, I'm just like looking at all of that she's been writing, and she was saying that a lot of the stuff involved her not wanting to voice what was important to her because she didn't want to jeopardize the relationship. She felt like she herself had to be more perfect to deserve the love, to deserve the relationship. And he is a very loving person. That's what she said, you know, like he was very caring and everything towards her, but she continuously just felt bad about, you know, like she felt bad when she had something that she wanted to say and she feels like she can't say them because she doesn't want to lose him. And then she realizes that the communication was important, you know, that she made the decision for him. So what I'm trying to say here is that a lot of the times in our relationship, when we try to sacrifice, you know, when we're sacrificing for our partner, we're sacrificing for our children, we sort of feel like that's the right thing to do, you know, that's what love is. But it's not true, because when we sacrifice for someone, we're not asking them, is this what you want? So essentially what Nikki Bella here is saying in her book was that she was like making decisions and assuming what he wants because she's trying to please him, trying to make him happy. And I think that this is not about like, oh, you know, you shouldn't try to like make somebody else happy, even though technically that's the truth. Like, it's not possible to make someone else happy, like they make themselves happy. But what I'm trying to say here is that this is the lack of communication, right? This is us a lot of the times in a relationship. We get so attached to the relationship, we get so attached to the love that we feel like we're unable to risk losing the person. And when we talk about like being calm and not being angry and communicating, like I am a huge advocate of communicating. And I think a lot of the times communicating is often misunderstood as like, or like communicating calmly and not getting angry is often misunderstood as being a pushover, right? But oftentimes it is communication, not oftentimes, like great communication actually refers to and includes being able to talk about the things that we want and that we need, you know, to be able to convey to the person what is it that bothers us. Okay, what is it on my channel? Is someone, okay, you know, I've said on my channel before that like if someone is disruptive and causing a lot of negativity, then I'll just block the person. Not so much because like it's I like, well, you know, I feel like, wait, let me gather my thoughts so I can explain this properly. I feel like whenever there are negativity and negative comments, there's nothing wrong with it, because I feel like everybody is allowed, you know, to say what they want to say. I think everybody is allowed to voice what they feel. And sometimes there's certain people who are really unhappy or have so much pain themselves that the only way to find relief is to express the negativity outwards, you know, to transfer their pain outwards towards other people. And in this sense, it is up to me to choose what I want to do. So I can respond by being angry. I can respond by being upset. I can respond by cursing at the person, or I can respond by like judging the person, you know, for like being so negative or whatever it is. Or I could respond by simply saying, oh, this is something that I don't invite on my channel, and therefore I'll just block the person, right? And that's what I do towards any kind of negative comment or negativity. Now, it's very similar to being like in a relationship with anyone, right? Like when a person does something that inherently you feel is unhealthy or it's hurtful or disrespectful, then we can actually let the person know. We can communicate with the person. We don't have to be angry. We don't have to hate the person. We don't have to judge the person. We don't have to, teach someone a lesson by being really angry at the person and losing our temper, because that doesn't actually teach them anything, right? And so we need to be able to know and understand why someone is doing what they're doing and where they're coming from, and then we can decide what kind of action we want to take, and I think part of the communication when it comes to any relationship is it's knowing what each other want and need, and also like what is acceptable and what's not, right? Jay here says, with everything that's happening right now, let us not allow toxic people. I do feel like what I personally try to practice is non-judgment. And the reason I want to practice this is because when I look at it logically, everybody is so different and everybody has a different story. I have no idea what someone else went through. I don't even know about their mental health. I don't know about their family background. I don't know what kind of pain or suffering they've gone through. I don't know what makes them happy or unhappy. I don't know. And so what I can see though, or what I do know, is usually what, like physically I can see, or I can read somebody's comment, like those things I can see. But I can't see someone's suffering, I can't see someone's hurt, I can't see the reason why someone is the way they are. And so that's why I think logically it just doesn't make sense for me to judge someone. And so when I read something that's negative, or when I'm faced with people who I find like, whoa, that's a bit toxic, I feel like the first thing I want to do is to understand that this is not that this person is evil. It is not that this person is terrible. It's just that this is not my preference. This is not the way I believe how I want to live my life, right? And if this is a person who is my partner, for example, and let's say my husband does something that to me is completely hurtful and very unacceptable, then I'll want to be able to explain to him why, right? As opposed to feeling like, that's terrible and you're a bad person for thinking that way. Like, honestly, in my life, like what I truly do believe is that there's no like bad person or good person. I think like even someone who has murdered someone else has aspects to them that is more than just a murderer, and so even when it, like at the very basic level, like in our relationship, it's very easy to react to our partner when they've done something that we think is unacceptable. We're like, how can you do that? Don't you know better, right? That's unacceptable, right? There's no common sense, right? You're a bad person for thinking that way. And I think like it spills over into our relationship with kids as well, right? I've seen like so many parent and child relationship where the child is a bad boy or a bad girl just from doing something that they think is wrong. And so, yes, certain times like people do things that are just not acceptable to us in our reality. And it's not that they are a bad person. It's just that they are a different person. And so, like communication at the very core of it requires so much understanding, because without this understanding that people are not bad, people are not evil, people are just different, and then I need to be the one to figure out how to communicate with somebody who's so different. Because if I'm not in this mindset, then I'll just be judging the person for being bad, for being terrible, for being awful, and then on a different level, it's so easy to also think of someone as, my partner is so lazy, my partner is so careless, my partner is so this and that, and then we just start using definitions on our partner, and it forms a story in our head of who this person is, when that's not really the truth, right? There's so many facets to how a human being is, and although we think we know our partner really well, if all we do is insist on getting upset with them whenever they do something wrong, then how well are we going to know them? Because the fact is that if somebody pisses you off like 10 times regularly, right? And you feel so frustrated because you've told the person repeatedly not to do something and they still do it and they piss you off. It just proves that you don't really understand this person. It doesn't prove that this person doesn't love you, right? A lot of the times we think that, hey, I've told you a million times and you're still doing it. It must mean you don't love me because, you know, you're not listening to what I'm saying, right? I think that if we can change that perspective and start to think like, you know what? I don't think my partner is a stupid person. Like, you know, the fact that I've told them something 10 times and they still don't get it, like, I don't think, are they stupid? Like, you know, and the truth is that, no, I don't think my partner is stupid. So then why? Why are they still doing it? Oh, is it because he doesn't love me? Is it because she doesn't care about me? That's why she's still doing it? And then you ask yourself a question, you're like, hang on, no, I do think this person loves me. I do think this person cares about me, right? And so if this person is not stupid, and if this person loves you, then why are they still doing it? Why? It must be because of some reason that you don't understand. And so if you don't understand, then it is time to understand. Jennifer here says, I think they don't get it, not that they don't love me. A lot of the times, people make decisions and it's completely like separate from what we think the reason is. It's very different from what we think the reason is. You know, like so often we attach our need for love and our need for validation to our relationship, that whatever our partner does or doesn't do, we immediately use that and say and use that as a reflection of how they feel about us. And I've realized something, you know, with being with Yuri, is that when he does something that I feel like it's inconsiderate or it's helpful, that or it's hurtful, then I kind of feel like, oh, it must be because he doesn't care so much about me, or it must be because he doesn't love me, you know. And I think that is like a very instinctive kind of like primal reaction, you know, like a person you love is doing something that is hurtful or can be inconsiderate, and it can seem like it's because they don't care about you as much, right? That's why they're doing it. And I've realized that 99.9, actually no, 100% of the time, it is nothing to do with how much he loves me or how much he doesn't love me. It's nothing to do with how much he cares or doesn't care for me. Everything that Yuri does that is hurtful or is inconsiderate is actually nothing to do with me, really. It's his own like habit. It's his like own weaknesses, you know. It's his own inability to rise above his own reactions, you know. It's his own carelessness. It's nothing to do with me. Like, just because he is careless and forgets to like buy food for me doesn't mean that he doesn't care for me, doesn't mean that he doesn't love me. It just means that he has a tendency to forget, you know. And I need to be able to communicate with him, to explain to him why it's hurtful or why it's important to me that he remembers it, and not approach it from the angle of like an accusation, like, how can you forget, you know, like, don't you care about me, you know. So the conversation is very different. Yeah. Okay, I see like there are a lot of comments and I think I want to read them. Daphne here says, we could have communicated in a way that they don't understand. We understand what we say, but it isn't in a way that the other person receives or understands. Yes, exactly. And so in my book, I read about how even when we communicate our needs and our preferences to a partner, we have to be of the right mindset to understand that they may not understand, right? When you're communicating with your partner, okay, I'm going to explain this. You should really read my book because everything is outlined there really clearly. But in short, when somebody explains a new concept to us, so let's say it's math or whatever it is, right? It takes you a while to actually understand what you're saying. And then maybe they want you to agree with what they're saying. So it takes you a while to understand, and then it takes you a while to process, and then you kind of like have to think about whether it jives with your own beliefs or not, right? And so similarly, when we communicate something that's important to our partner about how we are feeling or what we want or what our needs and preferences are, our partner may need some time to process it, because they, at the onset, maybe they genuinely don't understand. Maybe the concept of what you're saying has never even crossed their minds before. It's not in their orbit, it's not in their reality of what they're used to. And so when you present something to them, there's going to be a lot of, I don't get you. Like, why is this a big deal? Like, I don't really understand, right? And it's up to us to not take it personally and say, why isn't, I'm really trying so hard to explain. How come you still don't understand? You know what I mean? And because this reaction is just going to not help us explain things better. And I think that being in a mindset and to be prepared to genuinely understand that it takes time for somebody to wrap their heads around what we are saying. And sometimes what we say touches on their triggers. Maybe it touches on their ego, and then they are defensive as well. And we have to be prepared for it. If we're communicating to our partner and what we're communicating is something that they don't really like hearing because of their own triggers, or maybe it's because it touches on their ego in some way, and so they become very defensive, we have to be the one to not take offense to that. Because honestly, a lot of the times we say, okay, you know what, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to set my mind to, listen and understand, and I'm going to try to convey my needs and my preferences, and I'm going to use all the tools of communication. And you go into the conversation, and then halfway through, you get really tired and you get really frustrated because you feel like, I've already tried my best to be so calm and patient, and this person is taking things personally and they are being so defensive, and then you start to get defensive and you start to take things personally and you start reacting, and then because of your reaction, you never actually achieve your objective of just communicating to the person. Because like in my book, I write about how, when we are conveying something to someone, it's a lot to do with how prepared we are about where the conversation is, where we want the conversation to go. A lot of the times we have expectations of how we want the person to respond, and we're thinking that, if I tell him or tell her A, ideally I want him to or her to say this, and in the event that they don't say all these things, then we get really affected, and we take it very personally, and then we lose our train of thought and we lose focus on our objective, and then we go all over the place in the communication. Daphne here says, like what you said in your book, what is normal to you is an alien thing to the other person. Yes, in chapter 2 of my book, I talk about how what is normal to you is not normal to the other person. So people need time to wrap their heads around what we're saying most of the time. Evelyn, yes. Exactly. Wow, I'm so glad that you guys are remembering like the examples in the book. Like in my book, I talk about my friend who has this great habit of recycling, and she was dating this guy. She's still dating him, in fact. She was dating this guy at the time who didn't believe in recycling, and how she didn't take it personally and she didn't get upset at him, even though she could have taken it very personally when he questioned why she wants to recycle, and so in the end, it worked out really well. You have to read the book to actually like read the entire example. Thomas here says you have to let people express who they are, not who you want them to be. If it's natural, it just happens, but it's mutual between the two. I think that whatever it is, I think that it's about communication. People can express who they are, and you can express who you are. Kahinda asks, but it hurts, so do I have to be accepting? What hurts? If something hurts you, right? like, I want to remind everybody that acceptance is not saying if someone slaps me once, I have to accept it by letting them slap me again and again and again and again. That's not acceptance. Accepting something is saying you are a man who is like this. That's a fact. If you wish them to be different, it's not possible because the person is who they are. That's acceptance. So if a man or a woman slaps you, acceptance is two things in that situation. If someone slaps you, the first acceptance is, well, this person has just shown me who they are. If I get angry, there's no point because it's not going to change them. They show me who they are. I accept that they are who they are. I'm not wishing that they can be different and not thinking, how could you do that? How could they have done it? I mean, they just did it. That is acceptance, right? The second part of acceptance, if someone slaps you, is that it already happened. There's no point getting upset at the person and thinking that you shouldn't have done that, you know, and start feeling like really like a victim. There's no need to feel like that because it already happened, right? The people can try to victimize us, but we don't have to be their victim if we can accept the reality of what's going on and we can accept what they're showing us. People always show us who they are, and it is up to us to accept it or not accept it. Because if you don't accept who the person is, it's like saying, I like bananas, but you're a mango. You should be more like a banana. But a mango is a mango. We have to accept that the mango is behaving like a mango. If you want a banana, then this is not the right relationship for you. Acceptance does not mean if a person slaps you, you stand there and say, slap me again. You can be very clear that you like bananas, you like how banana tastes, you like how a banana looks. And although the mango and banana share similar characteristics, like maybe they're both yellow, like on the outside, their skin, you can acknowledge that these are two very different fruits. And so you can say that I accept that you are a mango, so I'm not angry at you for not being a banana. And so I'm going to make a decision to exit the relationship because I know I want bananas, right? And so it's acceptance is not about like, oh, you know, this person hurt me, do I have to accept it? If a person have hurt you, communicate with the person, right? What's there to accept or not accept? When I talk about acceptance, I mean letting go of anger, of judgment. If a person has hurt you, come from the perspective of trying to understand. Why is there so much spam? Is that the spam? Let's see. Elizabeth, it's marvelous to see you live too. Ron here says, my partner will start blaming me for rocking the boat whenever I feel he's doing something out of disrespect, like engaging in cheeky conversation with the opposite sex. He can't accept the fact that it's hurting me. And I think that it's this, right? A lot of the times, we want our partner to accept certain things about us. We want them to agree and see our points, right? Now, if you feel like your partner is consistently disrespectful and you've tried to consistently talk to your partner about how much it hurts you, then it is up to you to decide or ask yourself, why is it that you want to continue being in a relationship for somebody who blames you all the time and someone who purposefully disrespects you? And it's also really up to you to examine whether it is not so much that he is engaging in cheeky conversation with the members of the opposite sex. It is how he handles the communication and the conversation with you about that, right? A lot of the times we have to ask ourselves so many things. We have to understand ourselves so much. What is really bothering you? Is it because you're afraid that he'll cheat? Is it because you're afraid that he'll be attracted to somebody else? Like, what is it? Because you feel insecure? Is it because it makes you feel like he doesn't care about you? I think that is the communication. You know, it's not about what he's doing, is whether it's right or wrong, but and it goes even deeper into trying to understand first yourself why it's hurting you. Why does it hurt you? And when you can understand why it hurts you, then you can communicate that better to him. And if you have genuinely connected or communicated everything that you feel is really important to you, and you feel that this person genuinely does not care about you, then it is up to you to decide what kind of relationship you want and whether this is something that you want, you know? Let's see. Surinder here asks, I think it's about respect. If they repeatedly do it knowing it upsets you, where's the respect? But they should also be considerate. Diana here says, Surinder, are you still here? If you're here, can you like put a thumbs up or like just put a little comment? Grace, oh, I'm so sorry you're having a tough day today. I really hope that this helps. Jennifer here asks, please talk more about speaking calmly. I explain, but they won't let me talk and then call me a pushover. So I get angry and then act out, and then I do not feel good about myself. Well, who are these people that you're talking about? Let's see. Sylvia here asks, hi Xandria, I give all my love in a relationship and making him happy makes me very happy. I put him and his needs before myself. Am I losing myself? Sylvie, are you still here? I'm asking all these questions because I'm reading the comments really late and I want to know if you're here so then I can address it if you are still watching. Let's see. So if you don't mind, you can repeat your questions again if you're still watching it now here, and I'll address it. Right. I think the part where if somebody hurts you repeatedly and you feel that the person doesn't respect you, I think it's important to find out why. You know, it's important to find out why you continuously allow this to happen. And when I say allow, I don't mean like, why are you so calm? You know, like I think being calm is great. I think that a lot of us try to stand up for ourselves by being angry, by acting out, you know, by bursting, you know, by having a temper and losing our temper. And we try to get somebody to respect us by being angry. It doesn't work. No, the question is why? Why do you want so badly to be in a relationship with somebody who you already believe is disrespecting you? Or maybe this person is not disrespecting you and it's a matter of communicating. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it depends on your relationship. Now, what I do know is that when it comes to not losing ourselves in a relationship, we have to examine how we can love without attachment. And this is really the main reason why I decided to talk about this tonight, because it's something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, and it's about loving without attachment. And I'm going to go into that in a little bit. Evelyn here says, hello there, I bought your book and the understanding and acceptance is really on point. Well, I'm glad, you know, because in content by subject, I have put under like all the practices that's under acceptance. And all the practices, there's understanding as well, there's self-love, there's awareness, there's perspective, so there are different sections. And so Evelyn here is saying there were some points which I didn't agree with or which I don't understand yet, but it is 100% on us to decide, do we need this in our life or not? Is this building me? And honestly, these questions are always accurate in every human connections, friendship, family, etc. Yes. You know, I think that like whatever it is, when you consume something, whether it's a book or whether it's like a video or whether it's my book or my video or whether it's somebody else's or whatever it is that you're trying to get perspective or insight on, you know, what's really important is that it makes sense to you. It doesn't matter if it makes sense to me that you should be doing it. I think you should be doing only something that makes sense to you, right? And I think making sense to it's the most important thing. Like, do something that you genuinely feel is logical. Winnie here says, I used to think that love is enough to embrace all the differences and incompatibility. Then I realized that love is not enough. It requires communication and knowing what you want. Yes. And also it requires knowing how to communicate what you want and knowing how to understand that someone is very different. Like, people can be very, very different, and it's not that they don't want to give you what you want, it's that maybe they need to work on themselves as well. You know, we always kind of like expect the other person to immediately be able to do something like super amazing, but at the end of the day, they're human too. Theresia here asks, is the acting up or standing up for ourselves considered a defensive action? Well, okay, I'll give you an example, right, that I wrote in my book here. Like when my dad had an affair and left, and my parents got a divorce, like my mom stood up for herself by making it very clear that she can't be with someone that she can't trust. So, you know, it's not so much that my dad left, it's more like my mom don't want to be with somebody whom has betrayed her anyway. And so, you know, that to me is standing up for herself. You make a decision on what is acceptable or unacceptable in your life. You make a decision on what you want or you don't want in your life, or who you want or don't want in your life. It doesn't really matter what the other person is doing. And my mom didn't need to be angry. You know, she wasn't angry at my dad. She didn't blame my dad. She just knew that, you know, this is not what she wants for her life, you know? She didn't need to act out. She was so nice to him, you know, she packed everything up for him, you know. And you need to really read my book. I write about like the entire story in here, and I write about like different examples of how my mom stands up for herself without having to resort to suffering, you know. And suffering is anger, suffering is not letting go, and my mom is not the kind of person to voluntarily suffer, you know. And I think being angry, letting somebody make you angry, is volunteering to suffer. And so we can always say, you know, thank you very much, this is not for me, all the best to you, you know. That is standing up for yourself, you know, learning how to say, oh no, this is not what I would prefer, you know. No, when you did that, it hurts me because, you know, learning how to say these things, that's standing up for yourself, you know. Giving the silent treatment, being angry, losing our temper, you know, all of these things these are not us standing up for ourselves, you know. It's just us acting out, it's just us reacting. It doesn't actually help us. Oh my goodness, thank you, Henry, for the compliment. Winnie here says, I feel so impacted when I read the part about your parents' divorce. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it is an amazing story because it's just so, like, if it's not my mom and not my dad and I listen to this story, I would feel it's freaking amazing. And this is why I put it in my book, you know, and this is why I talk about it so much during my live chats and with you guys, because I really feel that it's super remarkable, you know. Like, my mom has really shown me how to love without attachment. And one of the main things that I want to talk to you about attachment here and love is that because my mom did not attach the value of who she is to whether or not my dad loves her, my mom didn't lose herself when he left. You know, and I'm gonna like repeat that a little bit. Like, My mom loved my dad, but she did not attach her sense of self onto whether or not he loves her. My mom did not attach the value of her life onto the marriage or onto the relationship. My mom could understand that she is who she is. She is still who she is, regardless of whether she is in a relationship or not, regardless of whether my dad loves her or not. It doesn't change who she is. And this is why lately I've been making videos about how valuable we are as a person, or what do we think the value of our life is. A lot of the times we fall in love and we're in a relationship and we have so much needs, you know, we become so dependent upon the relationship to fill the gaps in our life, that when we lose that love and we lose that relationship, we kind of feel like, oh my God, you know, I've lost everything. I don't know who I am anymore. And then we have so much anger and blame towards the person too. And it's because we've attached ourselves and the value of our lives. We've attached our identity to the person, to, you know, and even as mothers, or fathers, I think we can attach our identity to being a parent, you know, like, oh, I'm a dad, I'm a mom. You know, we attach our identity to a profession. Oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm an accountant, right? And so when you're no longer a lawyer, who are you? When you're no longer a doctor, who are you? Right? When your kids are all grown up and they don't need you anymore, who are you? You know, like, do you suddenly feel that your life is less valuable? Like your life is more worthless, you know, because you don't really know who you are anymore. And I think this is why in love and relationships we can get so lost. Like, you know, understandably, we're all gonna lose the people we love at some point, you know, like we're all gonna die. Again, death, you know, like I talk about death so often, like that if you follow my live chats, you will completely like know how often I talk about death. But seriously, right? We lose everybody that we love at some point, and we grieve for the people we love, and we will miss the people we love. And the question is, yes, we'll miss them, and yes, it'll be really hard and painful, but would it mean that our life is less worthy? Would it mean that, you know, when I lose somebody I love, I lose myself as well? Because if the answer is yes, and often it is yes, it's because we have attached the value of our life to the relationship, to the love. And Anka, here is the best question. How to avoid attaching to someone? And I am not a guru, I'm not an expert. I'm going to share with you how I practice loving without attachment. I need to understand my own value. I need to be able to distinguish being grateful for the people in my life against the other perspective of I am no one without you. I need to be able to understand that the people around me and my family and Yuri and everybody that I love add so much joy and value to my life, as opposed to feeling that they are the value of my life. I am the value in my life. I am enough. And it's hard to believe this, you know, because, you know, often we feel so lonely, and we can feel so lonely and alone, you know, that we feel like our life is just not worth very much without all these anchors around. But I remind myself that, hey, I don't need an anchor to keep me afloat. I need support systems, and support systems to help me see my own value, not be my value, you know? How do I not attach myself to the people I love, or even to the concept of love, is to understand myself so deeply that I acknowledge all my fears and I acknowledge who I am, and I acknowledge that I I value my life, you know, that, I mean, theoretically, I think I will be okay. Not okay as in like, okay, like right now, okay, but I must believe that my life is still worth something, you know, like, and so one of the great ways for me to not attach, like to love with detachment or to love without attachment, is to value myself and love myself enough that when I give love to the people around me, it is not because I'm trying to please them. It is not because I'm trying to keep them happy. You know, it's not because I'm scared they will leave me. That's how I don't lose myself. You know, if I'm so scared that someone's gonna leave me, then I will feel very scared to communicate certain things that are important to me, right? Because like what I was reading to you earlier with Nikki Bella talking about how she, you know, her feelings of abandonment, right, makes her feel like she can't voice her own needs. And that's hard. Henry, reading this, you know, I think that I don't know how you can help her. I think what you can do is try to understand what's going on. You know, you already say that when you buy her an expensive gift that she'll talk to you happily. So maybe she likes the gifts. So now it's to understand and examine if she likes you, for you. And then also for you to ask yourself why you love this girl. You know, it's important to ask all the whys. Jade here. Hi, Jade. Jade says, I think there are also microaggressions that we might not realize we're receiving and then perform tiny little acts of self-betrayal to maintain the peace or to avoid confrontation. Yes. And before you know it, the minor acts of self-betrayal really stack up. Having come out of my last relationship, upon reflection, I realized that I had been betraying myself over a period of time simply because I thought there were tiny, inconsequential things. Lesson learned, self-awareness is everything, and checking in with myself is paramount. Yes. You know, I feel like taking responsibility for our own happiness includes loving without the attachment, because any kind of attachment makes us feel fear. You know, I fear bringing something up because this person may be upset at me. If this person is upset at me, they might reject me or they might leave me, or it's going to cause some kind of discomfort and I don't want to deal with that, right? Like at any point in time, if we're able to love without attachment, I feel like we are able to love more freely. You know, we're able to just give and communicate and receive on a completely different level. And I'm not saying that I'm there, you know, I'm saying that I've been thinking about this a lot, and that's why I've been writing about this a lot. And it's the concept of loving without attachment, you know. See, Marisela here says it's not about not loving fully, it's about loving your partner and children, but also finding the time for self-care and doing things you actually enjoy. I think that we're only able to fully love someone when we remove the attachment. So the other form of like attachment with love that I want to talk about is, I know someone who tells me that she loves her husband very much, and she devoted her entire life to caring for him and her children. And from the husband's perspective, he finds her incredibly unsupportive and very unreasonable, and it's very hard to live with her. But from her perspective, she feels like he's not appreciative of her, and she feels like she loves him so much and she just wants him to love her back the same way. And looking at this dynamic, it's clear that it's not that she loves him so much, it's that she needs him so much, because having him in her life makes her feel safe. Having him in her life makes her feel validated. Having him in her life makes her feel loved. Having him in her life makes her feel safe. All of these things is loving with attachment. I have attached myself to you and your love and this relationship because I am a full person with you in my life. If you are gone from my life, I will commit suicide. And because I am not a full person anymore. That is loving with attachment. And we can fool ourselves into thinking that this is love. This is true love. When I sacrifice for you, is true love. When I do everything for you, is true love. And I don't understand why you can't see that. I don't understand why you don't appreciate that. Because it's not love. This person does not appreciate it because maybe it's not what they want. Maybe there are other things they want in a relationship from you, but you can't see it. Yes, seeking self-validation in her partner. And I think we all do it to a certain extent. It just depends on what level, right? And until we become aware, like Jade is saying, self-awareness, until we become aware of, hang on, why am I behaving in this pattern all the time? Why? And we start to realize that, oh my God, it is because I need him or I need her to show me that they care about me in that way. Because without that, I feel very insecure. You know? Jade says, I believe how your partner treats you is a big message. Look at the actions instead of the words. That's much closer to where the truth resides. Yeah. You know, and it's interesting you say this because, like, sometimes when a person does something, it's not like our vulnerabilities and our insecurities lie in this area. And so we always want to receive in this area. And when a person can be doing a lot of things in that area, but we don't see it as well. You know, it's like all I want are pears, and if Yuri gives me like other kinds of fruits like apples and bananas and whatnot, you know, I can miss out all of them because all I want are pears. And sometimes I feel like because we need pears so badly that when we keep looking out for signs of pears only, that we don't see, like, you know, if a person gives us a pear, we're like, oh my God, so happy, you know, like this person really loves me, or this person says the right thing, you know, it makes me feel so whatever it is that makes me feel so loved. But we're missing out on what you're not doing. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes a person can, this is why abusive relationships happen and why we stay in abusive relationships, because the hole, H-O-L-E, lubang, hole that we have in ourselves and in our life. Maybe this person filled that particular hole, right? And it's not that they're this amazing person that's healthy for us. It's just that they happen to fill the hole. Maybe the hole is loneliness. Maybe the hole is, you know, I feel really, really insecure about my looks, and this person makes me feel confident about my looks. I don't know what it is. And everybody has different holes to fill. And maybe your partner feels that one hole, this particular hole. And because the person feels that hole, you feel like you need this relationship, even though this relationship is clearly unhealthy. And this is loving with attachment, right? You think you're staying in a relationship because you love the person, but you don't actually love the person. You actually need this person to fill this hole in you, right? Like whatever that's missing, the gaps in your life. And that's why, like in a relationships, even when it's toxic and it's unhealthy, it's hard for us to leave, right? Because we have a need, one particular need, a big need, and this person is feeling that need. Or we fear so much. Sometimes, you know, like a person can manipulate us as well. Like, you know, like a lot of the times, it's so easy for somebody to know our weaknesses and also use them against us, right? And so then we become more and more dependent, and that's why we can get like brainwashed, and we can get so completely influenced into thinking that we're not worthy without this person. You're nothing without me. You know, like a person can say that so often, you're nothing without me, you're nothing without me, you're nothing without me, until you believe it, right? And the only reason you believe it is because you have a hole, a gap, a need to fill. And we all have these, you know, we all have like needs and gaps and all that. And it's for us to acknowledge what they are and be very aware of them, so that, you know, when we're in a relationship that it's unhealthy, we can identify it and go like, you know what? I can be enough for myself. You know, and I can recognize when something is not healthy for me. Kellen here says, requesting you to chat more on this topic. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about when it comes to relationships. You know what? Yuri and I are going to come on tomorrow, and I think we can continue talking about relationships, and I think you guys will really enjoy listening to his perspective. I mean, like, you know, Yuri is somebody who's really delightful to listen to his like thoughts. I particularly really enjoy listening to his perspective on things, and yeah, so tomorrow I think we should talk more about this, you know, about loving without attachment and how not to lose ourselves in a relationship, because he himself had to overcome a lot of his own gaps, you know, and he had to be aware, you know. So me and him both, we had to work a lot on ourselves to be able to love each other with as little attachment as possible, you know, because yeah, that's the best way to love. That's pure. You know, as opposed to loving somebody because you're trying to please them, or trying to make them happy, or trying to like not upset them so they won't leave you, you know, like those kind of love, I think was what was driving us at the beginning of our relationship. You know, we become scared of each other, we become like frustrated at each other, you know, there are things we want to say to each other, but we don't know how to say it, and then we fear the consequences, and then we don't even know, you know, and it's hard. Right? And so yeah, so we worked through a lot of stuff, and I keep sharing about what we worked through, and you know, it's in my book, and also I write about it in my posts on Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, I'll continue sharing. But yes, tune in tomorrow at 9 p.m. GMT +8 Thursday, and we'll talk more about relationships. Okay? Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you again soon. Bye! Tomorrow. Be happy always.